Did you know that some of the richest black communities in America aren't in Beverly Hills or New York, but right here in Metro Atlanta? That's right, we're talking entire neighborhoods where black families own the land, run the businesses, and quietly build generational wealth. Let's embark on this jaw-dropping countdown of the richest black communities in Atlanta. And trust me, the community coming in at number 1 changes how people see Atlanta forever. Number 10. Conley, Clayton County. Conley is one of those places that completely changes your perspective about community wealth once you actually look at the numbers. Tucked just south of Atlanta and sitting minutes from Hartsfield-Jackson, this Clayton County community has been quietly stacking wins while most people drive right past it without a second thought. Let's look at how. The airport shapes life here in ways that really matter. Delta employees, TSA supervisors, logistics managers, and Amazon operations staff make up a large portion of the workforce, which means steady paychecks, solid benefits, and long-term job security. That stability shows up clearly in the data. Median black household income sits around $76,000, while home values hover near $310,000, a noticeable discount compared to much of Metro Atlanta, and a big reason Conley has become such a strategic landing spot. Home ownership here is strong, sitting around 72%, and many of those owners are first-generation buyers who understood the assignment early. They chose proximity to opportunity over zip code prestige, bought while prices were still reasonable, and watched their equity grow steadily after 2020. It's not hard to spot the pattern once you spend time here. People are playing the long game. Culturally, Conley still moves like a community that believes in itself. Black churches double as mentorship hubs and networking centers, while events like the Conley Fall Festival bring together gospel music, food vendors, and local entrepreneurs who are building something real. This is where conversations about credit scores, college plans, and business ideas happen casually, usually over plates of food and familiar faces. In short, Conley may not announce its success loudly, but it doesn't need to. This is the kind of place where wealth gets its footing, where ownership comes before aesthetics, and where progress feels practical instead of performative. But while Conley is about smart beginnings, the next community shows what happens when safety, stability, and silence come together in one very intentional place. Number 9. Lake City, Clayton County. Coming in at number 9 is Lake City, a community that feels like a secret that only the people who live there are in on. With just over 3,000 residents, it's one of Clayton County's smallest communities, but what it lacks in size, it more than makes up for in consistency and generational wealth. This is a place people choose when they want life to slow down just enough to breathe. Median household income sits around $74,000. Home values land between $295,000 and $320,000, and roughly 3/4 of residents own their homes. And here's the kicker. The crime rate in this community runs about 30% lower than the county average, and that's exactly why Lake City keeps popping up on shortlists for black families who value peace as much as progress. Most residents work nearby, often in logistics, healthcare, or airport-connected industries, and then retreat back into a community that feels like home. Lakefront parks host fish fries and small jazz nights. Kids ride bikes without parents hovering nervously, and civic groups like the Lake City Improvement Association stay active, funding scholarships and pushing for neighborhood upgrades without waiting on outside attention. There's an old-school energy here that feels increasingly rare in Metro Atlanta. People know each other, elders are respected, new homeowners get welcomed instead of sized up. It's not trendy, and it's definitely not loud, but it's solid. The kind of solid that lets families focus on building instead of constantly reacting. Lake City isn't trying to impress anyone, and that's exactly why it works. For black homeowners priced out of Atlanta proper and tired of chasing hype, this place offers something far more valuable: stability you can actually feel. And now, from protection and peace, we travel to an area that's moving fast, growing quickly, and quietly positioning itself as one of Atlanta's most important wealth frontiers. Number 8. Southwest Eatonville. Southwest Eatonville sits right where Atlanta's next chapter is being written. Positioned along the South Fulton Parkway corridor and fueled by airport-driven growth, this area has become a magnet for black professionals who know how to spot opportunity before it makes headlines. On paper, the numbers already look promising. Median household income is around $66,000. Home values average about $305,000, and appreciation has jumped roughly 16% in recent years. In practice, the momentum feels even stronger. Infrastructure is expanding, traffic patterns are shifting, and new development keeps pushing the conversation forward. This is Delta territory in more ways than one. Airline executives, engineers, and operations managers live alongside STEM professionals and HBCU alumni who understand how proximity to major employers can quietly change a family's financial trajectory. Networking here doesn't always happen in conference rooms. Sometimes it's over community gardens, neighborhood meetings, or casual mixers where real estate and legacy planning come up naturally. What really defines Southwest Eatonville, though, is intention. Residents are actively working to preserve Black ownership as values rise, pushing back against displacement while still welcoming growth. It's a delicate balance, and one the community takes seriously. The goal isn't just to benefit from rising prices, it's to make sure the people who built the area are still here when the dust settles. This part of South Fulton feels like Atlanta just before it gets discovered, which is exactly why so many people are paying attention now. The next wave of Black wealth isn't waiting for permission here. It's already moving in, buying land, and thinking long-term. And as we head east next, we'll land in a DeKalb County community where legacy runs deep, families never really left, and the comeback story has been decades in the making. Number 7. Bouldercrest Redan, DeKalb County. Bouldercrest Redan is one of those places where history didn't disappear, it waited. Sitting near Stone Mountain in eastern DeKalb, this stretch has long been home to multi-generation Black families who laid roots early, stayed through the tough years, and are now watching the neighborhood circle back into its moment. Median household income here sits around $68,000, which may not jump off the screen at first glance, but the deeper story shows up in ownership. About 71% of residents own their homes, and many of those properties have been in families for decades. These aren't short-term holds or speculative flips. They're inheritances, paid-off mortgages, and quiet assets that suddenly look very valuable as the surrounding area heats up. Education has become a major engine in that rebound. Reedon High School's growing focus on STEM has helped create a steady pipeline into technical, healthcare, and public sector careers. Parents who once worked blue-collar jobs are now watching their kids step into roles that offer both stability and upward mobility without having to leave the community that raised them. Culturally, Bouldercrest Redan carries a confidence that comes from surviving cycles of neglect and white flight. Black-owned salons, barbershops, and eateries line Bouldercrest Road, serving as both businesses and social hubs. Add in the spillover from Stone Mountain tourism, especially during cultural events and festivals, and the local economy stays more active than outsiders realize. What really sets this area apart is memory. Families remember when others left, when resources dried up, and when holding on felt like a gamble. Now, as new buyers circle back and property values climb, there's a sense of validation in the air. The community didn't chase trends, it outlasted them. Bouldercrest Redan isn't being rediscovered, it's being returned to. And as that return continues, it leads us to another eastern DeKalb area, where transformation didn't happen overnight, but where the results are starting to feel deeply personal. Number 6. Panthersville, Lithonia. Feels like a long-term glow-up that finally hit its stride. Located in eastern DeKalb near Panola Mountain, this area was once known almost entirely for its blue-collar roots. Today, it's becoming a favorite among Black professionals who want space, community, and a little breathing room from the city. The numbers tell a clear story of momentum. Median household income is now around $78,000, and home values have jumped roughly 15% since 2020. That kind of growth doesn't happen in a vacuum. It comes from families leveling up, holding onto their homes, and investing back into the neighborhood rather than leaving it behind. Education plays a huge role here. Schools like Arabia Mountain High have earned a reputation for preparing students at a level that rivals private prep programs, especially in science and technology. Parents talk openly about college pathways, scholarships, and internships, conversations that feel normal now, but weren't always part of the local culture. There's also a deep sense of heritage running through Panthersville, Lithonia. Events like the Lithonia Heritage Festival celebrate not just local history, but the area's ties to Gullah Geechee culture and broader Southern Black traditions. That blend of past and present gives the community a unique emotional pull, especially for families looking to stay connected to their roots while moving forward financially. What makes this area resonate is the transformation itself. Longtime residents have watched the community evolve without losing its soul, while newer families are drawn in by the balance of affordability, nature, and pride. Panola Mountain nearby adds to the appeal, offering green space that feels almost rare in metro Atlanta. Panthersville, Lithonia isn't trying to reinvent itself. It's simply growing into what it always had the potential to be. And as that growth continues, the next stop on our list shows what happens when legacy meets location and equity starts moving fast. Number 5. Gresham Park. Gresham Park carries itself like someone who's been in the room long enough to stay calm while everyone else catches up. Sitting in South DeKalb near East Atlanta, this community has been a solid Black middle-class enclave since the 1950s. And now, The numbers are finally reflecting that legacy. Median household income here sits around $72,000. But the real headline is housing. Home values have climbed from roughly $260,000 to about $340,000 in a relatively short span, turning longtime homeowners into accidental equity winners. For families who bought decades ago, that appreciation feels less like luck and more like overdue recognition. Culturally, Gresham Park has always been active. Block parties are still a thing here, not as nostalgia acts, but as real community gatherings. Stepping teams rehearse in local gyms, neighbors show up for one another, and there's a shared understanding that this place matters. Being close to East Atlanta Village also helps, bringing in creative energy and access to a growing black arts and nightlife scene without overwhelming the neighborhood itself. What's especially interesting is how generational wealth conversations are starting to sound different. Homes that were once simply where we live are now being discussed as assets, leverage, and inheritance. Younger family members are moving back, renovating, and realizing they don't need to leave South DeKalb to tap into opportunity. Gresham Park sits at that perfect intersection where history, culture, and rising demand all meet. The money is newer, but the roots are deep, and that combination is powerful. And as strong as Gresham Park feels, the next community on our list raises the bar even higher, blending education, location, and professional density into one of DeKalb County's most strategic black enclaves. Number 4. Belvedere Park. Belvedere Park doesn't try to impress you when you first arrive. It doesn't need to. Sitting right on the edge of Decatur, this community has built its reputation the quiet way, through education, proximity, and a long tradition of black professionals who understood the value of being close to opportunity before it was fashionable. This is a neighborhood shaped heavily by the Great Migration. Many families here are descendants of Black Atlantans who moved east in search of stability, good schools, and a little breathing room. That legacy still shows up today in the careers that dominate the area. Doctors, educators, public health professionals, attorneys, the kind of jobs that don't always come with flash, but do come with consistency. It's no coincidence that Belvedere Park sits within easy commuting distance of the CDC and Decatur's biotech corridor. The numbers reflect that stability. Median household income sits around $70,000, nearly half of residents hold college degrees, and home values have surged by roughly 18% as more buyers realize what this location actually offers. For families who bought years ago, that appreciation feels like a long-awaited payoff rather than a sudden surprise. What really defines Belvedere Park, though, is lifestyle. This is a park-centric community where weekends revolve around walking trails, family picnics, and youth sports instead of constant movement. Neighbors recognize one another. Kids grow up seeing professionals who look like them. Conversations tend to revolve around school programs, career advancement, and long-term plans rather than short-term flexes. Belvedere Park is proof that black wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it shows up in degrees on the wall, paid-off homes, and careers built patiently over decades. And while Belvedere Park represents strategic living, the next community takes that strategy and scales it up. Bigger population, bigger influence, and a level of economic power that's hard to ignore. Number 3. Union City. Union City doesn't sneak up on you. It moves with confidence. Located about 20 miles south of downtown Atlanta, this city has become one of Fulton County's strongest black-led economic hubs, and it's done so without losing its sense of identity. This is airport country, and everyone here understands what that means. Delta's presence, along with the massive ecosystem surrounding Hartsfield-Jackson, fuels everything from executive careers to logistics management and aviation operations. That economic engine has pushed median household income past $85,000, giving Union City the highest black household incomes in Fulton County, a distinction locals wear proudly, even if they don't brag about it much. Homeownership is strong, neighborhoods are well maintained, and development feels intentional rather than rushed. Union City has become especially attractive to black professionals who want space, newer homes, and access to opportunity without giving up cultural grounding. It's common to find athletes, entrepreneurs, and senior-level professionals choosing Union City as a place to plant roots rather than pass through. Culturally, the city knows how to show up for itself. Events like the Unity and the Community Festival aren't just symbolic. They spotlight black-owned businesses, artists, and service providers who form the backbone of the local economy. The food scene, in particular, has grown into a point of pride, with soul food spots and modern black-owned eateries coexisting comfortably. Union City feels complete. It's not waiting for permission or outside validation. Schools are improving, infrastructure is expanding, and families are building generational plans right in front of you. And yet, as strong as Union City is, it still isn't the most ambitious experiment in black power on this list. Because the next stop isn't just wealthy, it's intentional, political, and designed from the ground up. Number 2. Stonecrest, Georgia. Stonecrest is what happens when Black wealth, governance, and vision all land in the same place at the same time. Incorporated in 2017, as Georgia's first majority Black charter city, this eastern DeKalb County powerhouse wasn't formed by accident. It was built with purpose. With more than 61,000 residents, Stonecrest operates on a scale that few Black-led cities in the region can match. Median household income sits around $82,000. Home values range between $380,000 and $420,000, and gated luxury developments have become increasingly common. But the real story goes beyond the housing market. Stonecrest represents control, Black leadership steering zoning decisions, Black voters shaping development priorities, Black entrepreneurs anchoring commercial corridors. The revitalization of Stonecrest Mall, now increasingly home to Black-owned boutiques, eateries, and creative spaces, reflects that shift clearly. This isn't growth happening to the community, it's growth being directed by it. The lifestyle offerings don't hurt either. Arabia Mountains trails provide a rare blend of natural beauty and suburban convenience, giving families access to green space that feels almost resort-like. Meanwhile, city leadership has leaned heavily into economic development initiatives that attract businesses while protecting resident interests. Stonecrest feels like a blueprint for what Black governance can look like when it's proactive instead of reactive. It's ambitious, organized, and unapologetically Black. And yet, for all its scale and influence, Stonecrest still isn't the symbolic heart of Atlanta's Black elite, because that distinction belongs to a place whose reputation was earned long before charts, lists, or algorithms ever showed up. Number 1. Cascade Heights. Cascade Heights doesn't need an introduction because its rich history speaks for itself. Nestled in historic West Atlanta, this community has long served as the bridge between the city's Black professional class and its suburban expansion, earning a reputation that still carries weight decades later. This is where Black Atlanta has traditionally come to arrive. Home values now sit around $420,000, and household incomes are roughly double Atlanta's Black average. But the money alone isn't what makes Cascade Heights the crown jewel. It's the symbolism. For generations, this area functioned as a kind of Black Wall Street of the South. Upscale Black-owned businesses lined Cascade Road. Historic churches anchored social life. Professionals, executives, and cultural figures built homes that doubled as statements of arrival and authority. Some of the most notable people hailing from this community include Maynard Jackson, the first African-American mayor of Atlanta, basketball legend Hank Aaron, and renowned celebrity Kandi Burruss. Even today, the echoes of such legacy shape how the neighborhood moves. Cascade Heights has also managed something rare: reinvention without erasure. Younger Black professionals and millennials are moving in, renovating classic homes, opening new businesses, and blending modern ambition with old-school prestige. Breweries, updated retail strips, and creative spaces now coexist alongside institutions that have been there for decades. Celebrities have passed through, influence has lingered, and the neighborhood's reputation continues to carry currency across the city. Saying you live in Cascade Heights still means something, not because it's trendy, but because it's rooted in the OG Atlanta Black wealth. To sum it up, if Atlanta truly is the Black Mecca, then Cascade Heights is its sacred ground. And with that note, we conclude our journey through the 10 richest Black communities in Metro Atlanta. Which one of these circles impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments, and for more interesting peeks into wealth and luxury, take a look at the channel.